I think reading about skinwalkers was my biggest mistake ever. It reminds me of something I never wanted to think about again. It gets more horrifying for me to know that other people experienced something similar. Be kid and play outside a lot with friends. Live in village next to forest. The nearest house to the forest wall belongs to a friendly old man. He gives us candy and treats us like his grandsons. As time goes on, he becomes weaker and has to use a cane to walk. One day his attitude changes abruptly. Sits in his rocker on his porch staring into the village. Doesn't recognize us anymore. Sometimes stands up to go inside. This goes on for a week. Parents tell us to leave him alone because he's facing death. We still ride our bikes past his house. One day a kid notices that he doesn't use his cane to walk. His movements are very stiff though. Other kid moans that he doesn't get candy anymore and we should observe him to check if he's eating them himself. Kid logic. Hide in a bush behind a window and peek inside. The old guy just stands up straight, something we thought he wasn't able to do, in the middle of his living room and has an emotionless and blank expression on his face. Still remember his hands weirdly gesticulating with nobody. All of us get creeped out. We run back to our bikes. Hear door opening. Old guy comes out and opens his mouth, but no voice can be heard. Reasonable kid asks if he needs help. He doesn't reply, but gets on his knees and pulls sticks covered in candy cane paper out of his trousers. He's crazy, a friend commentates. We leave. Next day the ambulance and police investigate the house. Apparently the old man has been found dead in his bed. Overhear a conversation between paramedic and cop. Remember it like yesterday. Unfortunately he's been dead for over a week. Think it's strange since we saw the old man alive a day before. Village is shocked about the death, but everyone believes the paramedic made a mistake. Ride my bike days later past grandpa's house. See a human-like figure standing in the forest watching the house. Go home and develop sleeping problems. I put it down as a weird childhood experience that could be explained with logic, but many things are characteristics of skinwalkers. Thanks X. Be me. Be senior year. Dad gives me old car so I can get to my job. Piece of shit old car.zip. Job is being old rich neighbor's gardener. Shit is exhausting but get paid mad cash. Fast forward a couple months. Halloween is coming around. Rich old fuck comes out and asks me to do some decorations for his house. Asks me to dig up some holes to look like empty graves. Cool idea, but more shit for me to do. Completely forget about that for about 2 weeks. Rich fuck says I have to have decorations done by the 28th. Fuck's sake. Rar. Ask friend for help. We'll call him Ben. Ben comes over and helps me put up statues, lights, and all the shit. 28th comes around and old fuck is pissed because we forgot the empty graves. Tell him we can still get it done if we hurry. He approves and says the next time we fuck up he's not paying us. Get to digging so-called graves until a car pulls up and 3 ancient-looking grannies come out. Like these women looked like witches you see in cartoons. I got so distracted by how fucking ancient these cunts were that I dropped my keys in the hole I was digging. God damn it. Ass anyway we keep digging for about 4 hours until I smelled something weird. Asked Ben if he smelled it too. Yeah, smells smoky dude. Went inside Rich Dick's house to see what it could be. Looking. Can't see anything. Until I see it. Oh shit, oh fuck, oh shitty fucking shit. The outlet that the lights are plugged into is on fire. One of the ancient cunts comes down to see what's going on. Got too close to the fire. She immediately goes up in flames. Realize I have to get the fuck out of here. Oh shit, my dumbass forgot to grab the keys when I dropped them. Fuck, have to find them. I'm digging through the ditches. I burned through the witches. And I slammed in the back of my Dragula.
Work night shift alone at a gas station. Early 50s man wearing all black and sunglasses at night comes by and is in the middle of a conversation. I assume he's on the phone or has a wireless headset, but he's just talking out loud with pauses as if he's listening to the other speaker. He wanders around for a while and comes up to the counter to buy some smokes. I sell them to him, and he lingers for a bit before asking me, "Whose side are you on? Devil or angel?" I answered I'm feeling a little devilish. And then his entire mood shifts, and he physically shifts himself, as if he's about to get in a fight with me. I had another customer to take care of, so I ignore him, but not before he tells me you shouldn't have said that. Before walking back outside, he paced around the gas pumps for a while until some other customers shoot him away. Still think about him sometimes.
That was the Archangel Michael. He was talking to God. You chose your side.
Thought I might as well share my story, bit of background info on my house. It's pretty big, and we have a large yard too with lots of animals, and a pool and 4 ponds, 2 in the front yard and 2 in the backyard. Be about 9 to 10 going to see our grandma. Can't leave animals home to starve to death, so we hire a lady to homesit. She has 2 kids, 3 and 4, both of which can't swim yet. Lady calls up my mum one night and asks if our house is haunted or if we ever notice anything strange. We have sort of talk about it later. Mum tells her about our old lady ghost. Lady starts freaking out. Tells my mum that her daughter got out and managed to make her way into the pond. She woke up to hear lots of splashing, so she runs out and asks the kid how she got out, and the kid just goes, "The old lady helped me out." The kid's mum is confused and is like, "WTF, what old lady?" And the kid starts going on about how there's this old lady that lives in the house with us. Mum's like, "Shit, we're Australian and my mum's pretty butch manly. But yeah, this old lady ghost is like constantly walking around upstairs when everyone is downstairs and the dogs are locked out, and well, randomly hear like someone having a shower and humming. Nothing ever really super spooky, but yeah." Another story. Be me 4. Sleeping in my dad's room cause I am young and like the company. Wake up about 5:30 to 6:30. Walk down hallway to chuck a piss. See a girl-like figure probably same height as Op standing in front of me with her arms bowed. Nope, the kick out of there screaming. Dad wakes up, asks me what happened. To this day I'm not sure if I was just like half awake being a kid with a good imagination or if it did happen, but it was fucking spooky and I can only remember it vaguely being so young.
There once lived a beautiful man. He was a flower collector. He would spend many a day wandering about, collecting up flowers from pretty little girls. The pretty little girls would see him and his beautiful smile and his beautiful eyes, twinkling ever so kindly, and they would smile ever so sweetly back. Over the years the beautiful man collected many flowers, all from pretty little girls. And though he saw many pretty little girls with flowers he would have loved to add to his collection, he was not a thief. Nor would he force the pretty little girls to hand over their flowers. He would only take the flowers that were offered to him. He would collect these flowers and hold them to the light, smiling his beautiful smile at the pretty little girls that had given them to him. He would smile and he would thank them and give them a gift of his own. In return for each and every flower a pretty little girl gave him, he would give each and every one of them a seed to plant so that other pretty little flowers would grow, you see. Some little girls grew beautiful flowers, and the beautiful man delighted in these. Some, however, just couldn't seem to care for such delicate little things, or grew the wrong type. And some flowers that were grown were quite ugly, with thorns and spikes, and in such drab and hideous colors. Nonetheless, he cherished each and every one of the flowers the little girls grew. And as a flower collector, he chose to collect up every single one.
Me and brother are in room on the floor. Late at night and our parents are asleep. We aren't supposed to be awake, so the lights are off. We're just quietly talking to each other and messing around with some Legos or something. We're more or less whispering back and forth non-stop like kids do. Something suddenly crashes downstairs, probably the cat knocking something over. We both pause. But the whispering doesn't. We look at each other. We are definitely not doing it. Something behind my brother moves. I go to say something and I get a brief view of it as a car passes. What I can only describe as a mummy is lying under my brother's bed looking at me. It's not a bandage type mummy. This thing looks like a body that's been left baking in the sun for decades. It has very big teeth. It is reaching for my brother. The whispering is the sound of its skin on the floor. I scream and jump up. Turn on the light. It's there for a split second, then it's gone. Brother thinks I'm crazy. He didn't see it. Never tell him about it. shove a bunch of boxes and sleeping bags under his bed, make up some shit about seeing a mouse under there. He doesn't question it. Never saw it again.
Kinda drinking at the moment, so grammar and spelling gone. Live in Florida. About 2 weeks ago. Walking to uncle's house to get ice, we own a good-sized piece of land. Walking past driveway, hear semi-loud but low rumbling gravel coming from one side of the van. Shine light, thinking oh shit, a big ass dog. Nothing, oh okay. Walk about to RV as I do see my dog in my yard staring at something behind me, not bark, but backing away under the RV. Should point out I have a cooler for the ice, a laser light, what the brand name is, but it's the big ass floodlight that can catch things on fire when on max and blind the fuck out of you, and a handgun, because there are things out here in Florida that can fuck you up. That's not spooky. Anyways, see my dog doing this, get really bad feeling. It's been windy most of the week, so it's hard to hear anything. As I get closer to my gate, I get ready to turn around to confront whatever is behind me. At this point I'm thinking like fucking black bear or panther. So I drop my cooler with ice, hit the high on my flashlight, and handle my gun and turn around in like 4 sec to see something in the fucking woods. At first on 4 legs, and I'm thinking fuck bear, this thing is big, shoulders up, chest, walking on all 4, trying to go deeper into the woods bush. It's staying really low, so I'm kinda happy thinking it's scared of me, so I get my cooler and walk back to my gate, keep my eye on this thing as it just stay far out but keeps close. What to call that, stalking. About to go into my RV with my dog, and I take one fine look. The woods from my RV at the closest point is maybe 40 to 50 feet, and I kinds feel safe, so I stare at it. MFW, I click the buttons on the flashlight and it goes to love. It has 3 settings on it: low, medium, high. This thing stands up at least, I don't know, like 8 to 9 fucking feet. I nope inside my RV, all the windows covered, and wishing I had a bigger gun. Anyways, get inside, and for the rest of the night feel my RV moving like something is pushing into it, and sound branches falling on it.
At the circus, we once hired a clown who performed under the name Malingo. I think we all knew, right from the start, that there was something wrong with Malingo, and if you're considered odd amongst our ragged crew, there is something seriously wrong. He stank, not only from the booze, which seemed to be his only intake of nutrient whatsoever, but of something sicky sweet, like a carcass left in the summer sun. And he moved rather clumsy, and not clown funny clumsy, but rigid. Both on and off the stage. From day one he kept to himself, and no one really cared to befriend him anyway. One night, he seemed more off than usual. He was mimicking the acrobats in one of his numbers. The idea was that he would use the trampoline and do a couple of flicks in the air and then crash land. During the practice sessions he had always gotten up right after the crash, since that was part of the act. But this night, in front of the audience, he didn't get up. I was the first one to reach him, since I'm always there during the clown's act. If the stench didn't tell me something were wrong, the huge gaping hole in his stomach did. It was like he had just burst open. Thankfully, I managed to get the clowns to play ambulance and carry him out before the audience realized it wasn't part of the show. I also managed to hide his wound with the help of a tablecloth we had on stage. We have a doctor in our troupe, and after examining Malingo, he said that the clown had been dead for weeks. That last trick had been too much for his decomposing body, and he had simply burst. None of us understand how this can be, but he hid his condition, if one can call it that, under it of booze and thick layers of makeup.
Hiking in a mountain with friends. Making a stop to rest. Anon says he will be heading first. We keep going shortly after. About 10 minutes, and we don't find Anon. The trail is one way, no way he could have lost. 20 minutes later, and we get worried. We shout Anon name with no answer. After getting a little derailed, I found Anon. Anon is semi-naked and is looking towards the wilderness. Anon, what the fuck are you doing? He snapped out of it and looks at me very confused. He told us that he heard someone whispering. He told us that he lost sense of time and was like in a trance state. He told us he began to feel boiling from inside and took his jacket and pants off to cool down. All of this was disregarded because Anon is known for being a pothead. Everyone just assumed that he was on drugs, and we kept going. Anon told us that he did have drugs but didn't use it. No one believes him anyway. I kinda believe him, there's lot of people who get lost and die in national parks, and I feel that if I didn't found him that moment he could have been lost too.
Reminds me of a story. 10 or so years ago. Kalamazoo, Michigan. East Michigan Street. Old paper plant Georgia Pacific had been shut down for years. Myself, a friend, and his COUSI, an autistic, sneak in to steal copper wire at night. Flashlights, but this place is run down and sketchy as fuck. Myself and friend are hard at work on doing conduit and collecting wire. His cousin, with no flashlight, is nowhere to be found. WTF, I think, this place is pitch black and a death trap, full of pitfalls and debris everywhere. So the search begins. I'm white, friend and cousin are black, and my friend is flipping out. I'm just worried the cousin is dead and this is a crime in progress as is. So deep in the bowels of some would call a terrifying place, we find his cousin standing in the corner of the boiler room, facing wall, speaking lounges. We left safely that night and never spoke of it again. Next night we did go back to get our copper. We went back to the spot his cousin was found to look for more copper, and found the skeletal remains of about a dozen pit bulls. Odd and spooky anons. Plus how his cousin found his way with no light still baffles me.
My mom was just leaving for a political conference. 72-mile drive through the country roads. We were gonna spend the night at our summer house. On the road, after taking the ferry. No one around, no houses or cars, nothing. A small animal is about to cross the road. Mom slows down. All of a sudden about 800 of the same animals cross the road in a disturbing pace. 2 deers cross right after. We wonder why they were fleeing, so we observed. Then both me and my mom spot something up by the hill to our fight, where they were fleeing from. We see a 8 feet tall humanish figure with pointy fists, wearing nothing but leather panties. It closes in on our car, and the reflection of its eyes was bright, shining yellow. It had no hair. It did not have a mouth, nor a nose, but a huge gaping hole right under the eyes, gaping up like a gash, and was filled with tagged teeth. Only 28 feet from our car. I was car to death and doped as fuck, screamed, told my mum to drive as fuck. She rolls down the window and asks, "Do you need any help, sir?" Answer was a deep, disturbing, echoing growl. It looks like the creature is about to dash for us. Mom hits the pedal and accelerates to 100 miles per hour in a matter of 10 seconds, with our Saab 9000. I didn't sleep for months. I have no idea, 8 years later, what the figure was. I still remember it clear as day, and so does probably my mom. We sever speak of RT, but still have nightmares of the figure looking my way. So tell me, X, what the hell did we see?
I would love to hear more stories, as I got one more from my good old country Mexico. I can't confirm this, but this came from my mom. She has contact with family, so she's up to date on what happens and when is safe to visit. About a couple of years ago there was a huge party, Quince, where girls celebrated her 15. People were drunk and of course there were fights. Near the end they tried to find the birthday girl. She was nowhere to be found for days. Now, because in some places it's so bad that we don't have normal police, we have state police, which is just military men walking around with M16s and armored vehicles. Even they are corrupted sometimes. They got involved and the kidnappers were not afraid, because seriously, Mexico is a fucked up country. They asked for a huge quantity amounts of pesos for a week that the family didn't know how to get the money. The week flew by, and they ended up collecting half the amount required. The extortionist called, took the half, and said that she would be home soon. 2 days later they got a box, but upon opening it he got the bottom half of the girl. There was a note attached saying that if they wanted the other half they needed to pay the rest of the money.
Be 9 years old. 4th grade. Me and my 2 friends who live near me walk home from school. Along the way we are just kicking a rock back and forth to each other and talking about video games. We go the normal route, where we walk down a fairly busy road and then cut off across the lawns of businesses and fields and playgrounds and stuff. We pass through one of the playgrounds and there's a guy, about 50 to 60 years old, looks like he's trying to fix his van. The parking lot is empty except him. Really no cars around. He sees us and starts yelling out to us. "Hey you boys, can you help me out? I need some help." We knew that this is some fishy shit, so we nope the fuck out of there. We run towards the road and take the long way home along the busy streets. A week passes. A third grader was abducted. Security footage shows it was the dude in his gray van. We talked to our teacher that day and she calls the police. Police officers and investigators pull us out of class. He takes our statements. They eventually find the guy and the little girl a month later. Yeah, this was in Anchorage, Alaska and was a pretty big deal then.
Still have nightmares about this. Grew up in a village called Am, England, better known as the Plague Village. You can read about it here. The village is surrounded by huge foothills and dense woodland. There is a particularly famous spot outside of the village down an old overgrown path called that was named by the locals the Dealth. This is where they would hold the funeral services for the plague victims during the outbreak. It's a huge strangely shaped cave-like thing. When I was younger, all my friends were deathly afraid of this place. You would hear stories about floating vicars and ghosts that would follow you home. In the daytime we would go down and explore the area surrounding it and find cow skulls on pikes littered about. One day one of my school friends suggests we man up and go can explore the Dealth. We all agree and go down about 4 p.m. with a torch. We get there and only 2 of us will actually go inside the cave. Me and my friend, 3 other of my friends wait outside. We go in, it feels horribly cold. I felt like I was being watched the whole time. We get to the end of the cave, it's not very deep. My friend finds a small crack that you can squeeze through. And starts to proceed down the narrow space with me following. All of a sudden he screams and runs at me. He drops the torch, I'm stuck in the entrance to the crack, while he trying to push his way past me in the complete darkness. We eventually get out and run out of the cave. All other friends decided to fuck off and leave us. We practically run all the way home just as the sun sets. He is crying as we reach his house. He tells me he saw a white face smiling at him in that narrow crack and that it was coming towards him. Safe to say we never went down there again.